Hey guys, I'm back, and thanks for sticking with me. In this video, I'm going to show you where I've been for the last 2 months. I'm going to show you the new army that I've made, and I'm going to show you just a snippet, a small battle report that I had with Daniel King at the Lone Wolf GT. Let's get saucy.
Happy sauce.
Hey guys, thanks for coming back. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus recently. There's a couple of reasons for that. Some of them have been personal, just mundane stuff. If you really care, PM me. But what's more important game-wise, I've been making this army that's in front of me that I'm about to give you a preview for, or a full show for, and I've been at the Lone Wolf Grand Tournament, which has been pretty exciting. Tournament season's ramping up for Kings of War, and I want to talk to you about that too. If you have not gone to a Kings of War tournament yet, you need to, because they're just a load of fun. The people are so cool. They are not like any other tournament experience I've ever been to. They are just the most down-to-earth, fun-loving guys you've ever seen. Honestly, since people drink more than they play, and just seeing the armies and the dioramas is just so encouraging and so inspiring. Last year I went with what I felt were some pretty good models, definitely a higher standard than I'd ever brought to a tournament, and I was just blown away by what I had, and I wanted to make a better army, so I made this one. And this one still just doesn't really live up to some of the armies that you can see there. It's nuts. There's a lot of work. I'm now playing ogres. I've always liked ogres. I've been excited about ogres. Ever since I was playing Warriors of Chaos in Warhammer Fantasy, I had a group of Chaos ogres. Some of them are probably in here. And I wanted to make an entire army like that. I originally was going to do it for Warhammer Fantasy. I was going to use things like the Chaos Spawn. I was going to use those for the Gorgers. I had a lot of kind of cool ideas. Hellhounds for Sabertooths. Kind of cool ideas for that, but of course that went away, so now I want to redo it. But I already had some Chaos Ogres made, so I just finished the army, and here it is. It's a lot of work. Every single unit is modded in some way, and it's definitely a unique paint scheme. I want to show that to you. I also want to let you know that I've been at the Lone Wolf Tournament. It's the biggest GT in the United States, sometimes the biggest GT in the world. They're neck and neck with Clash of Kings in the UK. And that was just a great experience too. And I want to tell you about that. One of the really cool things that I got to do was challenge one of the players in the UK named Daniel King. He's part of the Rules Committee, which is a committee that it's a non-paid committee, volunteer committee that makes the rules for Kings of War, or at least recommends the rules for Kings of War. And he's also one of the best players in the UK, if not the best player in the UK. He's incredible, and the game with him was really fun. It was at a tournament, so the quality of battle report that you'll see on this video is not going to be the same standard that I have normally, which is a standard that I've been trying to improve as it stands. So this is going to be a drop down, and I hope you can just forgive me for that. It's just that we're pressed for time. We have 2 hours. Most of my battle reports take 4 hours to film or more. So it was just a time press. I just took pictures with my iPhone as we went, but I'll give you commentary on that. It's really great to see you guys again, and I want to show you what I've been at. So let's go ahead and take a look at my army.
In the future, I'm going to be doing quarterly hobby reports just to show you what I've been working on and how much you can accomplish in 3 months. Now, some of the conversions I'd already worked on, and you can see here, these are Chaos Ogres. The idea is that they worship some sort of chaos god. It's certainly inspired from the previous lore of Warhammer, but even so, these are mutated chaos fiends that, definitely run on the evil side as opposed to the neutral side, so I probably won't be allying these with the Brotherhood. Let's just say that. I've modded every single one of these units. Altogether, I've made Siege Breakers, I've made Chariot Hordes, Boomers, all sorts of stuff, and I'm just kind of going to let the pictures roll while I'm talking here. But these have been an absolute blast to paint. I don't have these to the standard I want them yet. Some things are just based when I could put some more work on them. The water bases, I think, need some more ripples and things like that. But overall, it's at a standard that I really like. I think it is cohesive, at least you can tell what I was trying to do. This has been a project that I've been wanting to do for years, and I've just been sitting and I've been intimidated by it, and I just decided to go ahead and do it. Ogres are just a blast to play with, too. The fact that everything scores, even your heroes can score because they're not individuals, is a really big deal. Everything smashes hard, and I'm a very aggressive, hard fighter. I really like ogres, and I would encourage anyone that's on the fence about using them to do so. They have a lot of versatility. There's some units on here that I'm not even using, like red goblins, hunters. I haven't used a legion of warriors. There's just a lot of cool things you can take. I don't have giants. I really focused on the boomers and the boomer sergeants because I wanted a lot of breath attack for flyer protection, and the siege breakers I thought were really fun. I gave my siege breakers doors. Those I just thought would be a very ogre-esque shield. You know, you're just in a giant dungeon one day and, oh look, it's a door, big shield, and just grab it, you know, Hulk smash. One other last thing I want to point out is our unit leader. This is my Warlock. She is just gorgeous. I played with how to paint her for a while. At first I thought I was going to go more like a Mimi Drew Carey approach with this model because the model's just, oh man, it's just a great sculpt. I love it. But instead I decided kind of to go with more of a classical look. You know, you see a lot of the Grecian wet robes, and obviously those look gorgeous on, you know, the female models that they used at the time, and I thought, you know, the ogres could get their own version of that. So that's been pretty fun for me. I hope you enjoy looking at this, and I hope that, you know, you can find enjoyment out of it because I found immense enjoyment out of this army. Thanks for taking a look and a gander. Now I'm going to show you my very first game with these ogres after they were painted. Let's get into that. Alright, now that you've seen my ogres, let's go ahead and see them in action. Their maiden voyage, painted, was against Daniel King, round 1 at Lone Wolf. Daniel was just a really cool guy. He is from the UK. He is probably the best player in the UK. And he'd originally challenged Kyle from Mastercrafted, but for mundane reasons, Kyle couldn't come in, and I was his YouTube replacement battle. The pictures in here are going to be, well, they're from my iPhone, and you know, I didn't take great pictures. I took okay pictures. I mean, I think I can still tell you what happened in this game, but just apology for that. I'm at a tournament. We had 2 hours to play a game, and as you can see here, and I'm about to explain this, it was a complicated scenario, so we were really more focused on that. But I did take pictures generally at the end of every turn, and hopefully that will be enough to where you can see what was going on. So let me go ahead and get into this game here. But before I do, I just want to say Dan's such a great guy. I had a great game with him. This was probably my best game at Lone Wolf. And if any of my other opponents are listening to this, that does not mean that your game wasn't amazing too. I had a great time playing with everyone that I played with at Lone Wolf. I had a really hard time marking my best and second best game because, geez, man, I played so many good people. I loved every game I played. So to all of you, all of my opponents, thank you so much for the great time. But moving on to Texas Hold'em. This is called Texas Hold'em, and it's inspired by the card game. So there are community cards or pool cards, and there are personal cards, and all of these are objectives that we can play. That means there are 9 objectives that are possible to score. There are 7 for each of us that we individually can score, and then there's 2 sub-objectives that have to do with how many personal and pool cards we actually ended up doing. It was a mess. It was so hard to keep track of all this. Dan and I were looking at it literally every turn, sometimes twice a turn, especially towards the end. But let me go through here real quickly. Dan has 2 specific objectives that I can't score that he can. One is to have the cheapest unit alive at the end of the battle. He has 3 regiments of thrall, and all he has to do is park one on the far side of the map and not get it killed, you know, baby it, and he gets a free 4 points. He also wants to control the most table quarters. You'll see his list in a minute, but it's a very fast, very mobile Varangur list, so that is going to be easy for him to do. Mine, I chose to kill the enemy general, and that's his Chimera with Vicious. He has 2 Chimeras, King on Chimeras in his list. One has Vicious, one had something that was Speed. One had Speed. And I didn't want to deal with 2 Chimeras. So what I did here is I went ahead and picked this, not because I wanted to score on it. And if I score on it, great, I win the game. And really, I do. But you'll see down here in the pool cards, one of those is kill your opponent's highest costed unit. Well, that King on Chimera with Vicious was his highest costed unit. So what I did is I made it to where if he lost that King on Chimera, he lost 8 points, or he gave me 8 points. So basically, I almost wrote it out of the game from the get-go. He still uses it, but he can't use it as effectively as he wants to use it because he knows he cannot lose that. So that's the reason I did that. I wanted this to be an easier game for me. I also want to hold more terrain pieces. There are a lot of terrain pieces on the board, and if I score more than he does on those, then I get points. We also have basically dominate being in your opponent's deployment zone, so that would be invade. We also have the kill scenario in play. Killing more units with ranged attacks is a thing. Killing your opponent's highest costed unit. Now each one of these scores is worth 4. And the river, which is basically dominate, be within 12 inches, is worth 6. And then you also get points for scoring more personal cards and more pool cards. So there's a lot of scoring going on here. Refer back to this if you're confused. It's a mess. It really is. But it was a lot of fun. It was a fun game. So this is how I deployed. Now, he has 2 Kings on Chimera, one with speed, one with vicious. And you can see them there, the big winged things. He has 2 Horse Raiders, and those are the skinny ones. One's in the far left, and one's right next to that tower. He has 3 Magus Enclaves with Elite, so he has a lot of good long-range shooting that he can use to either soften something up or finish something off that didn't quite get killed. He has 2 units of Fallen. One has Pathfinder, one has the Brew of Strength. Then he has a unit of Sons of Korgan over there on the right side of the Mage's Tower there that has the Brew of Sharpness. So they're going to be nasty. Everything that can buy Fury has Fury, and he has 3 regiments of thralls as well. Those are there just to score objectives and maybe serve as chaff. He's put one on the far right side of the board because he wants to make sure he has one alive at the end of the game. And as you can see, the way I deployed, there's no way I'm ever going to get to that. Spoiler alert. I knew I was playing an opponent who was better than me, and I knew I was playing a bad matchup for me because I actually have a lot of flying defense in here because I have so many breath attacks, but I don't have enough flying defense that I can handle 2 King on Chimeras with 18, 20 nerve. I think it's 17, 19 nerve. High amount of nerve and defense 5. I'm not going to be able to shoot those down. So I have to play this really conservatively. I did not want to get pincered. So the easiest way to not get pincered is to not have a flank. So I've denied my left flank. It doesn't exist. And I'm going to box in and play defensively against this. Now, Dan wins the roll, and he decides to give me the first turn because I don't have any shooting that's short. All my shooting short range, so he knows that I really don't get anything. So I just kind of move my units up. There's not a whole lot that I can do here. I keep all of my heroes protected behind things. Everything's in cover, so he's not going to get a non-covered shot here. And I keep the unit of Ogre Warriors in the back. I don't know what side. They may need to go left, they may need to go right. And they're also protecting the landing zones for 20-inch movements here because I don't want him to get behind my lines. So this is a really easy way to defend your lines, is just to keep a unit back that's threatening, and that way, if they landed back there, you just charge it. So Dan sees that I'm playing really defensively and does not advance near the chariots. What he does, though, is he starts trying to envelop on the right flank. So he moves his Sons of Korgan into position, he moves his Chimera into position, and he moves his Fallen into position. And that Chimera is actually further back in my flank, where the little green thing is. That's actually where his Chimera is. The table was a little wobbly, so we had to put it there. On his at the beginning, he takes some shots at that regiment, that chariot regiment, deals 3 damage to him. No big deal, but if he does that again, he might be able to kill him. And he's just trying to envelop. So he goes ahead and sends it to my turn 2. I just move forward again. That terrain's kind of slowing me down. I'm putting out units like the Siege Breakers and the Chariot Regiment that can take a hit. The Chariot Regiment actually has 16, 18 nerve. They are bosses. They're defense 5 with 16, 18 nerve. They can take a hit. You really have to double charge them to kill them and double charge them with 2 hammers. I cannot count the amount of times in Lone Wolf and since that people have underestimated them and been, bad for it. So I stuck it out there knowing that it's going to take a lot to kill it, and anything that does move in there can get charged by the Chariot Horde. Siege breakers are in the forest so they can see through, and everything just kind of moves up. Okay, so I do take some shots. It's not pictured, but I take some shots with those boomers into the Sons of Korgan and deal a paltry amount of wounds to them. I also take that boomer sergeant and shoot into his Magus Enclave, but fail to do any damage. And then I charge. It shows a double charge. It's only a single charge to the horses with the Chariot Regiment, and I kill the horses. So now I've gotten rid of his chaff, and I actually have to deal with his real units. When it comes to his turn, he moves forward and charges that Chariot Regiment with a double charge. He uses the Fallen, and he uses the Horse Raiders. Now, the Horse Raiders aren't really enough to kill this on their own. Hopefully the Fallen is. The Fallen has Pathfinder, so they should be able to deal some serious wounds to them. They're already wounded, I guess from shooting or something to that nature. No. Those are, spoiler alert, those are wounds from the combat. His Magus Enclaves move backwards to make sure that they don't get charged by something, and he double charges those boomers there. What he ends up doing, and it's not pictured here, but in the shooting phase, he kills that Chariot Regiment. But that Chariot Regiment was in the way. That's why his Chimera is so far up in the flank of my boomers, and I gave him a flank on that. I didn't realize that... Well, what actually happened is when I moved backwards, I wasn't flush. When I moved backwards from the combat, that was originally flush with those regiments when I moved them, but I didn't. It was stupid. It was really a stupid mistake of mine. But when the chariots moved backwards to try to stay out of the flank, they ended up giving the flank to the boomers, and that was really unfortunate. So he double charges that with his Brew of Strength, Fallen, and his Chimera. They're going to be in for a rough time. And he moves his Warriors of... They're not Warriors of Chaos, they're Mounted Sons. He moves his Mounted Sons with Sharpness up through the forest. His Thralls are up just kind of to get in position to maybe score or supplement a charge, and that's all that happens. So he takes some shots with his Chimera over here. He's babying it because it's worth so many points. That's the one that has Vicious, so it's worth quite a bit of points. I get 4 for killing his most expensive unit and 4 for killing his general, so he doesn't want to give that to me. So he ends up just breathing some fire on this horde. And then it's not pictured, but he takes some shots at that Chariot Regiment that you saw before and kills it. So that's real bad. And then, of course, he's going to be killing a lot of things too. So he deals only 3 wounds to this Chariot Regiment here with both of them. His Fallen really whiffed. The dice were really in my favor in this game. But he deals 15 wounds to those Boomer Hordes. And I know for sure they're dead because all he needs to get that is not to roll. Oh, look. He rolled Snake Eyes. Dan was such a good sport. He was just so good about this. That's the face he made. He was just like, oh, you know. He was such a good sport about it. I took a picture of it. I'm really glad that I got Snake Eyes here, but this is just blind luck. I mean, this is just blind luck that I'm not completely surrounded right now. I just want to point out that Dan is by far the better player over here. By far. So hats off to you, Dan. We move into my turn. This is the beginning, what it looks like at the beginning of my turn. I only have a shot at the end of my turn, so this is actually the end of his turn. But what I'm going to do is as follows. I charge my Warlord into his Horse Raiders. I double charge the Fallen with Pathfinder, one with Siege Breakers and one with the Chariot Regiment. It's kind of overkill. It's not really necessary, but I want to make sure that thing's dead, and I'm not positive with a hindered Siege Breaker or with just the Chariots that I'm going to be able to pop those Fallen. So I'm definitely going to commit what I need to kill them. The Siege Breakers have a flank on those not Pathfinders, on those Fallen, because they were unfortunately trapped to a Snake Eyes. So flank Siege Breakers, doesn't matter that they're hindered. That's going to be a bad day. Boomer Sarge goes into the Sons of Korgan just as a sacrificial ploy. I'm not looking for damage there. I just want them to have a roadblock. And then the Boomers, I'm playing with house money right here because they should be dead. Charge into the Chimera just to make sure it's grounded. The Warriors back here move forward to kind of cinch the kill because I know I'm going to lose those Boomers. and the Siege Breakers. The Siege Breakers are going to be tight because they're looking at a possible rear charge, possible flank charge. It really just depends on what happens. I'm not positive I'm going to have them around. You can see their flank is exposed to the Magus Enclaves. There's a lot of things that could happen to those Siege Breakers next turn, so I'm moving those Warriors up to make sure that I have some reserves over here. Meanwhile, I know I'm going to kill those Fallen units. I know he really can't commit his Dragon on the left, and those Horse Raiders, even if I don't kill them, aren't going to be a threat. So I feel like the left flank is a lot more clear unless he brings that Chimera over, which is why I'm grounding it. As far as combats go, the Warlord does not manage to kill the Horse Raiders. Meh, don't really care. I slam into those Fallen. I don't remember how many wounds I deal, but I do rout them. I deal a substantial amounts of wounds. The other Fallen from the other Siegebreaker in the flank, ouch, that's just splat. And then my Boomer Sarge bounces off of the Sons of Korgan. It's not pictured, but the Boomers that are hitting the Chimera do end up dealing some wounds to them, which is all I needed. I needed to disorder it, is what I really needed there. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was due to my bad movement. Oh no, it was, and this is not his fault at all. Not his fault at all, but that green little thing was throwing me off the whole game. I'm just not used to it. It's a great tool. I think it's great. I think it's great that he uses that. It just threw me off. So I love to flank open to those Siege Breakers, and he's going to go in with that unit. He's a 50 mil base, so he can manage to carve it, even though he doesn't have nimble. Sons of Korgan are going to go into the Siege Break, the Boomer Sarge, obviously. It's their only choice. It's not a good charge. I didn't want it to be a good charge, but I mean, he'll kill it, I guess. So he's welcome to do it. The vicious Chimera gets the hell out of dodge because he's already in trouble. The Horse Raiders slam into the Chariots because they're wounded. Maybe he'll get lucky, but that's really it. As far as shooting goes, he shoots into that Boomer Horde with the out-of-frame Magus Enclaves. They already have a substantial amount of wounds on them, so they die. And then as far as combats go, he bounces off the Chariots. He splats those Siege Breakers with his Chimera, and obviously splats the Boomer Horde. So we're looking kind of gross. Now, I didn't get a good picture at the end of my movement for the next phase, so the only really important thing here as far as combats go is that, of course, the Boomer Horde and the Boomer Sarge are gone. That Warrior Horde charges into the already wounded Sons of Korgan. They'd taken some Boomer fire earlier. And the rest of the things happen. This Warlock tries to hide as best as she can. She is just out in the open once those dragons come out. And the rest of my army just reforms and faces. We're moving into the scoring part of the game, so it's important that I start thinking about grabbing objectives, like making sure the terrain's in. I want to start moving towards dominate. There are a couple of other things that I'm considering, but right now, Dan has a lot more options as far as scoring goes. I just want to score as much as I can. The Warriors are able to kill the Sons of Korgan. Yay, I needed that. If we're able to kill those thralls up there, I'm not worried about the combat. I'm really more worried about killing them in time. I'll have the dominate scenario. So on Dan's turn, he goes ahead and just decides to get out of there. You see, I've created a very large kill zone for his Chimeras. I do not want them there. So he moves one and attacks the back of my Warlock. There was nothing I could do to stop that. I looked for probably 2 or 3 minutes to try to find a safe place for that Warlock, and there was absolutely no safe haven for her. So he takes that, and then he moves the vicious dragon that's worth 8 points to me and just gets it out of there. He does not want it to be near that, which is good. That's good for me. He takes some shots with his Magus Enclave, but they're not productive. He gets some wounds on them, for sure, but he doesn't kill anything. And then he eats my Warlock with his rear charge Chimera, to no one's surprise. Alright, so I go ahead and charge that Thrall unit up there, which is, I gotta get that in one hit. I have Brutal. I'm gonna get some very productive hits because they have a low defense. The question is, do I have enough wounds that I can get on to kill it? Because it has a 14-16 nerve. But I am able to roll it. I got really good dice this whole game. I think there were 3 different busts. I got exactly what I needed on, including Brutal. So it was really good. I love the brutal special rule though, man. I love it. The look on my opponent's face when I remind them I have brutal and they realize they lost something is really fun. I'm not gonna lie. But I really like it. It's probably not the best army rule. I think elite probably is a better army rule for elves. But overall, I think brutal feels the best. The rest of my army over here just kind of starts moving towards objectives. Everything in my unit scores. So I have this Boomer Sarge moving towards this hill. I have this wounded Flagger moving into the back ranks. I have everything that isn't wounded moving up. And then that Chariot Regiment is wounded, but what else can I do? I go ahead and try to get it near that forest so that I can score on it as well. He has a regiment near there. I'm denying a point. Ultimately, at the end of his turn, this is the end of turn 6, we don't get a turn 7. He just moves his Chimera out to go ahead and get additional points. He kills that Chariot Regiment, meaning that he scores on that objective and gets me out of his deployment zone, which means he scores for being in my deployment zone. He gets more zones. He gets the kill scenario. We tie on pool cards. I get the dominate, which is the river, and I also hold the most objectives, which is one of my pool cards. But ultimately, Dan got a lot more objectives here. I lost 7-13 to him. In a tournament score, there's 20 points that you get. A draw would be like a 10-10. We both get, out of those 20 points, they're distributed evenly throughout the opponents as well as they played. So an overwhelming win would be like 20-0. An overwhelming loss would be 0-20. A draw would be 10-10. I lost 7-13. So Dan got some points on me. He got 3 points on me. I lost 3 potential points from the middle, but that's a pretty good loss for me. Playing someone of this caliber, and it was just a blast game. Dan, if you're watching this was a great game, and I'd love to do it again sometime if you're ever in. I'll let you challenge someone else, but I would be ecstatic if I played you again at a table. All right, guys, that's it for this battle report. Thanks for watching.
Alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you taking a look at my army, taking a look at the battle that I had with Damn King, and hoping to get a lot more videos to you. The summer is a pretty easy time for me, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll be able to get you some videos showing you how to make blocking terrain, showing you how to make modular obstacles, and some more battle reports as well. So for right now, stay saucy.
Happy sauce.